All right, let's get some reaction to today's court proceedings against former President Jacob Zuma. Joining us now is political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze in our Pretoria studios. Thanks so much for your time, Prof. We appreciate it. Of course, Jacob Zuma, talking to many of the people who showed up to support him, he says this case is about political agendas.
Yes, that is a continuation of the message that we've heard from the middle 2000s already. You know, when he was first dismissed as the deputy president by President Mbeki, then in 2005, then the charges that were laid against him after the Polokwane conference also, then the court cases that followed, including the Nicholson judgment, all had one common element, and that is that the Zuma argument is that it was actually a political campaign against him in order to prevent him from becoming the national president of the country. So that is something that he's continuing with. I think that appeals to a lot of people because it's seen as part of the internal factionalism that in the ANC that we've become accustomed to, especially last year, that in a sense is a continuation of that.
So let's talk about the other things that were said there. Of course, the president did come out attacking, some people will say, but Carl Niehaus outrightly put it. He said that the ANC should not be telling people how to support Jacob Zuma.
Yes, I think the MK Military Veterans Association is possibly the strongest supporter of President Zuma. To be quite frank, I think they are a creation of President Zuma also. They were established during his term, and therefore they are without any qualification supporting President Zuma, even now since his demise as president. I think what we are also seeing is some other individuals like Des van Rooyen, the former minister, the former CEO of the SABC, Claudia Motswaneng, one of the key persons in the Eastern Cape, Andile Lungisi, they were all there also, plus in the sort of the pro-Zuma part of the KwaZulu-Natal ANC leadership under Zihle Sikalala. So there was quite a strong component of support for President Zuma, but it seems like the spearhead of that at this stage is the Military Veterans Association.
Does all of this actually lead to even deeper divisions within the ANC as Cyril Ramaphosa tries to unite the party?
I don't think it's deepening that. It is in a sense reaffirming the divisions that existed at the time of the National Conference last year. I think some of those divisions have over time tempered. It's not as polarized as they were in December or earlier last year, because we've seen how some persons have to some extent now moved closer towards the Ramaphosa group. But in the end, I think what we are seeing here is also that there are certain persons who would regard themselves as being committed to President Zuma. And some of the things that he articulated, because he tried to present himself, as if we refer to the idea of the radical economic transformation, as the left in the ANC or the radical side in the ANC. And I think some people want to associate themselves with that because there's also accusations that the ANC has become too centrist. And for certain of their constituencies, it is very important that they place themselves on the left of the center. So that's an ideological argument, I think, or argument about ideology that does play a role in some instances. For the rest, it's about solidarity, it's about support for President Zuma, and then something which we never can sort of take out of the equation, that it has to do also with KwaZulu-Natal, the political future of KwaZulu-Natal as a province within the ANC, the fact that they have dealt a serious blow in the December conference of the ANC. No one from KwaZulu-Natal is in the top 6, for example. They have more representation now in cabinet. But President Zuma, to a large extent, symbolizes to the marginalization, in effect, that has taken place since December of KwaZulu-Natal within the broader context of the ANC.
Well, how does the party strike a balance when it comes to supporting the former president? Because in previous trials and instances where he appeared in court, we saw high-ranking officials from the ANC right next to him. This time around, that wasn't the case?
Yes, I think that is the dilemma for the ANC in the context of the Ramaphosa narrative, and that is to be visible, to be against against corruption, to be against unethical conduct, and therefore the dilemma for them is how to not distance themselves completely from President Zuma because of his historical link to the ANC, but at the same time send out the message that this is a court case about him and about the accusations or the charges against him of corruption and fraud and others. And to strike a balance between that is exceptionally difficult. I think in the end what the ANC wants to achieve is not to lose KwaZulu-Natal in the process, as I mentioned now earlier, the reasons for that. But at the same time to send a strong message to the South African public that this is one example of what should be done against corruption. And that's a very delicate message to send through, and I think the ANC struggles with that because of what we've seen, the visuals that we've seen today again of the support for President Zuma.
Thank you so much for your time and your insight. We do appreciate it. That was political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze.